Thank you, Mr. Phelps, and happy Sabbath to all. Adversity. I want you to keep that word in mind as I read the following statements. Why are you even trying? Everyone knows that you'll never make it. I think it's best if you quit now and save yourself the embarrassment. We think you're a good person, but that weird religion that you follow is keeping you from achieving your full potential. You'll never qualify for the team. We need someone who's dedicated, someone who will be here 7 days a week instead of putting their so-called religious beliefs first. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it's always going to be. If we make allowances for you, we make allowances for everybody, church or us. It's your choice. And the one that hits us really hard, only an ignorant person would believe in an actual God who sits on a throne in some distant heaven and believe in a book written thousands of years ago by a bunch of crazy old men. It has no significance for us. Can these words affect our view of success in this world today? You ever thought about, can these words affect my faith? Challenge me? Some of these words are pretty harsh and downright hurtful. We've all experienced it, no matter who we are or where we're at. Adversity is a painful experience for anyone to endure. It has a great potential, if we're not careful, to put us in immediate uncertainty if we don't know its initial intentions and who's actually behind it. So when we face adversity, we have to take the time to see what is actually behind it. Are those words that I hear, are they true? No, they're not actually. When we start to identify what they're meant for, we find out it's actually Satan himself trying to derail us before we even get started. So how should we, as God's people, view adversity? Think about it. How do you personally view it in your lives? Do you see adversity as an obstacle that's put in front of you to point out your weaknesses, to point out all the problems you will face, and there to destroy your hopes and dreams? Or do you see adversity as opportunity? An opportunity to overcome, show your faith, show your strength, and achieve those dreams against all odds. That will be the title and the message we'll speak on today is adversity, obstacle or opportunity. So what is adversity? Merriam-Webster defines it as an instance of serious or constant difficulty. Dictionary.com adds to this as an unfavorable fortune or fate, a condition marked by calamity or distress. Simply put, adversity is something unfavorable to our situation. It may be opposing to our ideals or beliefs, contrary to the direction we choose to go, or even our thought pattern. It can be frustrating. It can cause a lot of pain, but brethren, we know that's not the end result. How we face this adversity is actually more important than the adversity itself. All it is a seed that wants to get planted in your mind, and if you allow it, it will cause yourself to remove yourself from the potential that God already has ordained for you. We have to be honest, too. Adversity is real. We can't brush it aside. It's something that God's people don't have to deal with. It's existing. It's a real concern, and brethren, we have to address it. We have to address it because it's going to affect the generations to come. It's not going away. And if we're not getting that straight in our minds, it's going to affect us as the parents, the mentors, and eventually affect our young children. They're not knowing how to face adversity in this world. Adversity is no respecter of persons, especially when it unleashes its attack on us. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned baptized member, a young adult, a teenager, or even our youngest of children. It will face you in your lifetime. Many decisions we will make, either to be baptized or those who have been baptized to stay into faith, or even our young children or adults when they're seeking possibly to go to college or in the workforce, it can be guaranteed. You're going to face it every day of your life. And how you deal with it will determine how successful you will be. If anyone falls for the trickery that adversity wants to put in front of you, what it does, it divides your mind. You're going to think either I have to be successful as a Christian or successful in this world. You start to divide your mind, and it's a battle. It has to be one or the other. We can't have a divided way of thought when it comes to living God's way. So how do we prevent this happening in our lives? The best defense, brethren, starts with preparing our hearts and minds. If you would please, turn over to 1 Peter 3. 1 Peter 3, we're going to read one verse, verse 15. 1 Peter 3, verse 15. I will be reading this from the Amplified Bible. But in your hearts, set Christ apart as holy, acknowledging him, giving him first place in your lives as Lord. Always be ready to give a logical defense to anyone who asks you concerning your hope and confidence, assurance by faith that is in Jesus Christ in you. Yet do it with gentleness and respect. Knowing how to properly respond, and actually knowing if you should respond at all, is a challenge within itself. The dilemma of knowing whether not to engage or to engage takes a mindset that's cool, that's calm, and that's collected, so that we can read the situation properly, knowing what's really behind it, so we don't act first and think later. When it's evident that we have to engage, we must handle adversity at its inception. We can destroy the agenda, its evil agenda, before it has opportunity to take root in our lives. Its sole purpose, brethren, is to take control of your thoughts. And that's exactly what its purpose is. It wants to take you to a direction it wants to go, not where you want to go. It does this by seeking to weaken your faith in your core beliefs. And every one of us can be shaken at our core if we're not careful. Adversity has the easy part, believe it or not. What it does is it sets the trap, it walks away, and you do the fighting. It wins most of its battles without swinging a single punch. We fight against ourselves in our own minds. So to properly handle this, when it's right in front of our minds or right in front of our faces, we have to keep our minds and our hearts focused on God and His Word. We should acknowledge it, face it head on, and depend on God to be with us all the time, because we're not alone. As I said, the best defense is having a good offense. So remember your preparation. Put that training that you do each and every day into action. If we fight it, we have to know our enemy better than the enemy knows itself. 2 Timothy chapter 3, please. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 14. But you, continue in the things which you have learned and been assured of, knowing from whom you have learned them, and that from childhood you have known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith, which is in Jesus Christ. When we are prepared, as the Apostle Paul instructs Timothy here, we already have the tools necessary to defeat adversity. We must not only know the truth, but be thoroughly convicted of that truth and be able to properly defend that truth. This morning in the sermon, Dr. Dunkel mentioned a phrase called courage of our convictions. We have to be courageous. We have to have a conviction within us and be committed. When we stand on that foundation of God's Word, brethren, we don't draw conclusions based upon what other people say. But what we do, we draw a conclusion based upon the Word which God has said and put inside our hearts, because we prepared. Remember Joshua? I'm sure you do. What did God tell him? If he was to stay within the Word, day in, day out, no man would be able to stand against him. He would never leave him nor forsake him. because he was diligent to make God's word his meditation day and night. That's how we defeat adversity. This promise is still for you. This promise is for me, but we have to do our part because God certainly will. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Second Corinthians chapter 4, we're going to read verses 8 through 11. 2 Corinthians 4, verse 8 starts out as saying, "We're often troubled, but we're not crushed. Sometimes in doubt, but never in despair. There are many enemies, but we're never without a friend. And though badly hurt at times, we're not destroyed. At all times we carry in our mortal bodies the death of Jesus so that his life may be evident in our bodies. Throughout our lives, we're always in danger of death for Jesus' sake, in order that his life may be seen in our mortal bodies." That same promise, as he said to Joshua, is true to us by what we read. We can battle. We might feel like we're losing, but believe me, when you feel your weakest, you're your strongest, because it's not you fighting that battle. It's Jesus Christ in you. As I start to wind down, I want to add one last thought that really hit home with me. It's a good thing to keep in mind that our obedience to God and our fight against the evils of adversity can and will impact the lives of others. So many people will fail to see the importance of reading this written word and preparing as you're preparing. It's sad to think that the only Bible that they may ever read in their lifetime is you. You're living examples of God's word. The late singer-songwriter, many of you may know him, Rich Mullins, the awesome God guy, so he referred to himself. He said this about the importance of setting an example, and I quote, "I am a Christian not because someone explained to me the nuts and bolts of Christianity, but because there were people willing to be the nuts and bolts." You're what hold yourselves together through Jesus Christ. You're what hold the congregation together by how you interact with each other. You're going to hold the plan of God together by your example, by staying true, by putting him first in your life, so that people may see that there is a way, there is a hope out there. This is a fight that we have to do, not only for the difference of our life, but the difference for everyone else's life. So, brethren, if we are currently or have been in the fight against adversity, please set the example. Communicate with these young ones in this room. Show them how you have fought it, because it's important for them. And if you are about to face adversity, listen, ask, learn, gain hope. This will help you fight as well. That's our purpose, to continue on generations after generations. So, brethren, let's take what this world would use as an obstacle to destroy our efforts and use it as an opportunity to overcome, to accomplish so much in the face of great adversity. God will fight our battles when we prepare our hearts and minds to fight every enemy that stands in the way of our faith. Let's continue our fight against adversity and its desire to overcome our minds.